everybody, welcome back to another video game analysis, and today we're going to coin a new term, the Majora Effect. Now this is not a new idea, this is something many people discussed, but I think it's just something people take for granted, and I think if we understand this kind of thing more, it'll really push us to, understand, formulate our opinions of our games better, the games we love, the games we hate, all that. So without further ado, why don't we just get right into it, with the game in question, Majora's Mask. The best example of this and why I named it after it. Now, the Majora Effect has to do with games that shaped the gaming world or how we think of video games or such. Really groundbreaking games. Or it could also be games that changed something, whether it's the game series or the characters in the games or, stuff like that. Now, Majora's Mask is a very different game compared to Ocarina of Time, and I could have also used Ocarina of Time as an example of this. I could have called this the Ocarina Effect, too, or something like that, but it's not as catchy. And also, it has to do with the idea that, let me just say this in layman's terms first. The Majora Effect is when gamers have a collective opinion of a game that changes and flip-flops over time. As of right now, everyone feels that Majora's Mask is the greatest Zelda game, is the greatest game of all time, it's a great game, or just really good. While when it was released, everyone said, oh, it was awful, it was terrible, oh, I hated it, it was annoying, it was cryptic, the 3-day system was awful. And now people are saying, oh, I love the 3-day system, it was different, it was enjoyable, it was a change, it wasn't safe, These are kind of terms you'll hear all the time from both sides of the spectrum. While I have to say there are games that are just like polarizing in opinion, like the next game we're going to be showing. But it all comes down to, I'm talking about the collective overall opinion, the larger opinion, if you will, the majority idea. I'll make that very clear. This has to do with the majority idea. Not if you don't like Majora's Mask and you never like Majora's Mask, that's fine. If you always like Majora's Mask, even when it came out and you had the unpopular opinion, that's fine too. But overall, I think it's important that we understand some reasons why this stuff happens. 1 second Majora's Mask is the worst thing ever made, and the next second it's the greatest thing ever made. And I might be exaggerating a few things here and there, but when you have a game that changes a lot, whether it changes the standards, like let's go back to Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time right now is a great game. People love it. It's one of the greatest. But there's always those naysayers, and then sometimes they win the argument. Oh, it's boring. Oh, at the time, yeah, we loved it, but now it's just like you go back to it. And then there's so many arguments you can make back and forth, like, oh, Ocarina of Time was the first of its kind, which is something I always agree with. It's the first of its kind. You're going to take its flaws like it was made in 2017 when it wasn't. Then you can go back and forth and argue whether games are good. It's subjective. But, here with Majora's Mask, this was no doubt, gamers, I'm not sure how it was critically acclaimed, but I do know that gamers when this game came out, they did not like the game. And, nowadays, I think that now more people know how to play it, the defenders of the game showing it off, and showed you what to do and how to do it, strategy guides, the internet's out now. I think that's a component of what flipped a lot of people's minds about it. Over time, there's always going to be the naysayer that flips it, whether it's the naysayer for or against. That's a big thing with Majora's Mask. Now, sometimes it's the opposite. Everyone says, which is going to be the last game we've seen. Everyone says the game was great, then they hated it. Now it's back to being great again, and then they hate it. It's this constant cycle. It's not an annoying thing. It's not a bad thing. It shows that there's truly is a gaming culture, that there's gamers who care about these certain things and understand and try to formulate their opinions and their ideas. They want to be more fruitful of a gamer. They don't want to have the nostalgia goggles on, or they don't want to not appreciate former games and retro games and all that and what they did and what they accomplished. But ultimately, it's important to remember that. It's important to remember that with the Majora Effect, time changes opinions, whether it is the naysayer that flipped the opinion, or maybe you just had all these thoughts because you were young and you were just being crabby. I didn't like Kingdom Hearts when the game started. I think this is a great example, actually. When I was young, I didn't own a PlayStation, so I was like, this game's stupid. It's stupid. I don't like it. What are they doing? I was being let's just say it, a hater. The word everyone loves, that everyone takes seriously. H8TR hater. Yes, I was a total hater. But then I started to really like the game, not because I played it myself, but because of the legacy it had, all the Let's Players I watched that loved the game. And I said, I appreciate what they did. I appreciate the collaboration between worlds. And now, I'm not a fan of the games. I think the gameplay's fun, but I think it's just me with the story. This is my opinion. Now, I don't know for sure what the overall opinion is of Kingdom Hearts. I know everyone loves it now, but I don't think it ever flip-flopped. I don't think it's a Majora Effect kind of game, because it was always a positive thing. And who knows? Maybe if there was Kingdom Hearts 3 came out earlier, maybe it wouldn't be as liked. There's a lot of ifs here. It all depends on time. Why don't we get to the next part, so this isn't ramble on too long. Plus, Link has to deal with his identity crisis right now. So when explaining the Majora Effect, a game that would fall into it, in a simple way, in a shorter way, it's the idea that with chunks of time, maybe you didn't play the game in a long time, maybe you changed your mind about a few things, maybe some things that were important to you then aren't as important now. It changes your opinion, or maybe they return, maybe you play it again a couple more years later. Maybe every playthrough you just change your mind about the game. And, these are games that always have high praise, or well known. You'll never see a Majora's Effect game on something small unless there's a cult following for it, like Earthbound. That's a great example of a Majora game, a Majora Effect game. But for a cult group, because Earthbound's a cult game, and you have people who play it. I was like, well, it wasn't what people said. Everyone said it was the greatest game ever made, and I'm an Earthbound fanboy. I think it's the greatest game ever made, but it's not. I recognize why people wouldn't care for it that much, but overall, the mystery of Earthbound's gone. It's on the Wii U, it's on the 3DS. I'm sure it'll be on the Switch eventually. But now that mystery is gone, people see it for what it is, and fans like me, we still love it, but the overall opinions change. Right now, it also depends on opinion. You don't really know for sure, but you just go by what you see on the internet, what you see word of mouth, when you talk to communities about it. People don't like the game. Right now, I personally think that everyone agrees that Earthbound's a good game. But there was a time where people said Earthbound wasn't. It wasn't a good game. It was just overhyped, And that might come back. It depends on who is the loudest voice at the time. So why don't we just move on? Because I think, speaking of, which voice of opinion matters, I think the next game's a really good one. So many Sonic the Hedgehog games I could have played here. So many. You have no idea how many Sonic the Hedgehog games I could have played here. But I think Sonic Adventure is the best one, because it was one of the games that crossed from 2D to 3D, which was a subject we tackled before. Because, you have to think about how to translate the game from its original feeling and what it invoked and how it was designed and put into a 3D environment, which is a harder task than people let on, than people would take credit for. Sonic Adventure is a game that flip-flops in people's opinions. People make fun of its choppy animation, or people make fun of its awkward voice acting, or maybe the glitches in the game, because you actually see some in this footage here. If this bit goes on for long enough, that is. But regardless, there are issues because the game's an early idea. It's not like it didn't have anything to go by. It was the first of its kind. I think if you want to go by a few games later, now Sonic Team knows what they're doing with 3D games. I think Sonic Unleashed would be a good example for a Majora Effect game, because right now everyone agrees that it's a good game, but at the time when it came out, everyone hated it because of the Werehog, or then they say, okay, you play without the Werehog, it's good. And then now people say, I guess we didn't appreciate the Werehog for what it tried to do. Sonic Team wanted to lengthen the game. Everyone agrees that no matter what, Eggman Land was the worst idea. It was so damn long. But, regardless, opinions change. And you know what I was hearing? I can't believe this. People are saying Sonic 06 was a better game than we let on now. That's something. Because that game's critically acclaimed as the worst ever, That's a big title to have, that's a big claim to make. But people say because it did do things for 3D Sonic that not many people did. It made bigger environments. It wasn't just a hallway where Sonic ran into. It wasn't a scripted event. Stuff like that. And I can understand that. That is something I would defend. If I had to defend Sonic 06, I would say that about it. It's a interesting point. Sonic has this idea that Sonic 06 had this idea where he made wide open spaces, and it offered the multiple layers of different places in the levels that the 2D Sonic games offered. But back to this game, people say, and I agree, this is the best attempt Sonic Team made. Well, there's one glitch. That's a glitch I was talking about. Sonic Adventure was the best job I've seen of making 2D Sonic 3D. This feels like a Sonic game, despite its flaws. This, of course, in my opinion too, but I think this feels like a Sonic game. Sonic Adventure 2 was a Sonic Adventure game. Sonic Unleashed was a Sonic Unleashed game. Sonic Colors they were their own games in their own right. The boost form. That's why it's important now that they have classic and modern Sonic to differentiate the styles, because there are different styles, there are different ideas. Sonic Lost World was a completely kind of game in its own right. But yeah, back to the idea of the Majora effect. Here is a game, and like many Sonic games, like Sonic Adventure 2 I was almost tempted to use for this, but I thought it was fun to see the GameCube version compared to the Dreamcast version I used for the last recording, and I think it does slightly. I think even though you can make the same argument for both, this makes the idea. This takes the idea better. It makes the idea, you know what I mean. Sonic Adventure marks a change. I think that's important to recognize when talking about the Majora effect. It all has to do with change and how people react to it, and then how they react to it again later and later. When you have a debut of something that becomes popular, that's different. That's something that changes things. Like I talked about Ocarina of Time, yes, technically that was the first of its kind, but Zelda existed before that. You're not going to see games like Zelda 1 saying, oh, I hated it now, but I loved it then, oh, I hate it now. You're going to see people's initial reactions, and that's sticking. People either like it or they don't. They appreciate it. A lot of people respect it, the first Legend of Zelda game, but some people don't like it because they didn't like feeling like they were lost. They didn't like maybe the cryptic hints, stuff like that. So I'm sure you're noticing a theme here where I'm using really big names. Link, Sonic, and I'm just going to say it now. The next one's Mario. That's because I think it proves my point a little further, that Majora Effect games typically have to do with big names, big things that made big changes. And changes are isolating, they're polarizing, all those kind of synonyms. Some people embrace it, some people don't. Some people wish things would come back, and some people wish it would maybe be altered or taken out altogether. Something, and whether something works or not is subjective. Sometimes there's things everyone agrees is bad or everyone thinks is good, but it's those middle things, the things that lie in between. That's when the Majora effect comes to play. Mario 64, like Sonic Adventure, I think did the best job so far. Because Odyssey, like, oh, what that game? Yeah. So as of right now, as the data is recording, I think Mario 64 did the best job translating the 2D world of Mario into the 3D realm. 3D worlds, that's the whole... I'm not counting that because that is the whole concept of it, 2D Mario games and 3D. I'm not counting that because that's a whole different Mario series in its own right. I'm talking about the main series, mainline Mario games. But yeah, So yeah, Sunshine. That's a game everyone loved when it came out. But I remember this. Now here's something I have experience with firsthand, because this is, out of all 3 games, this is the only game that we talked about today. This is the only game where I played when it came out. Period. I didn't play Majora's Mask when it came out. I didn't play Sonic Adventure when it came out. Well, I did, but it was a re-release for the GameCube. But Delfino, I remember. My cousins loved it. I loved it. We're all like, yeah, so it's fun. And then, like, a year or two later, just, like, it became the most hated Mario game. Like, no matter what, everyone can agree this is the black sheep of the Mario series. It's different. Black sheep doesn't really mean bad, it just means it's different from the rest of the flock. And, I don't know, I loved it. And everyone started hating it, But lately I've seen a resurgence in this game. A resurgence where people say, you know, I like Flood. It was a great change. It was a nice. It fixed mistakes. It let Mario be more free. Like you weren't in Mario 64. You were nervous with every jump you made in narrow areas because you were like, but you want to do the cool tricks but you were like, I don't want to die. I want to slip off and fall and die. This game, you had a way to fix that, and it made you experiment more, made you more free. That's something that Odyssey looks great with Cappy. Oh my God, Odyssey. Yeah. Anyway, Mario Odyssey. Oh God, I can't stop talking about that. Mario Sunshine brought something new to the table, something that people weren't sure if they're going to follow through, and they didn't. It's a great face for the GameCube. It shows the GameCube did a lot of changes, a lot of things that were different. Risks. That's something I wish the Wii U did, and I actually expected the Wii U to do, but it didn't. It took risks. It took new ideas. It wasn't saying, okay, this is what worked for Mario all the time, so let's do it. And yeah, that's the game. But the Majora effect of the game, basically speaking, is I think everyone can recognize this one, because this is one that gets Let's Played all the time. When my first ever Let's Play ever watched was Mario, the Chugga Conroy's playthrough of Mario Sunshine, and the whole idea here is Sunshine is a game people remember and people enjoy. I also Let's Played this game, and the whole reason I started watching YouTube is because I wanted to find some Sunshine music to listen to, because I was playing it at the time for another playthrough, and here we are. Stop saying Here we are talking about this game. 16 years later, because it's one of those games like Mario 64 or Mario 1, 2, or 3, but the difference here is this game, people change their opinion on it. And is there an end to the Majora effect? That's something I was thinking of with Mario Sunshine specifically. I was about to say Mario Odyssey. With Mario Sunshine specifically, because I don't know, is it going to be liked from now on? Have people shifted through their negative ideas with this game enough? I mean, a lot of people agree 100% of this game is still bad, but I'm talking about, when it comes to the Majora effect, the overall opinion, period. I'm not talking about the flaws everyone agrees is there, or the things people can't deny. I'm talking about overall opinions. And I think Sunshine's back to what it was when I remember it came out, where everyone loved it, everyone enjoyed it, it was fun, it was exciting, there was cool things to do. But yeah, I'm sure more people were willing to 100% then than now, especially after finding out your reward was simply just a postcard after the credits. But here we are. Overall, we have Mario, you have a Flood, and the way you work it out, if you liked it or not, is up to you, and that's fine. If your opinion is valid and fine, because you're the gamer. What you play is your business. What you do with your games are your business. Yoshi Cruelty. Well, but I'm getting off topic. Here's, like I said, I want it to be a takeaway for you guys. Your opinions are your opinions, but there's always going to be an overall view. It's like thinking about Rotten Tomatoes. Yes, there are many individual reviewers who have their own opinions, but overall, there will always be a Rotten Tomatoes score, which I find subjective, which a lot of people find faults in. But that's my point, and that's what makes the Majora effect interesting and good to be aware of, where you hear all these things about the ultimate opinion. It shouldn't change what you think. It shouldn't change your ideas of the game, and really, the game itself shouldn't have to be swapped between opinions back and forth. Where it ends up, I think that will be the end of the effect. And I do think there's an end of a Majora effect. The ultimate opinion. It just takes time to understand and let in. So that's that. So that's it for today. I can't believe it went off. I'm sorry it took me this long. I'm gonna do a channel update. I'm sorry for dating this video a bit, but I've done this really late. I've never done the VJB in October. I really didn't want it to be that way, but we're gonna do one more because I want to keep the thing I got going on with 10 videos a year. So I'm sorry for the skips. I really got to fix my camera. Let's hope that happens next year or the next episode even. But don't put me to it. Next time, we're going to talk about Waluigi. You know, I'm sure everyone expected me to say that for the beginning of next year, but I'm I shouldn't be talking about a Mario character begin every season. So we're going to end it with Waluigi. We talked about Wario recently. Let's talk about Waluigi because he's interesting, right? Wah. If there's anything I missed, if there's anything I got wrong, if there's anything you would like to add to the conversation, please do not hesitate to leave a comment. A like and a share will be helpful too. You guys know what to do. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Billy, your Video Game Analyzer. Have a good day, good night, whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you next time.